Hi, it's Paul from pdhsports.com, leading online racket specialist, and today I'm really excited to get my hands on the brand new head squash radical range. It's the 2024, it's the range that Paul Coll recently switched to, so yeah, we've got 4 rackets. Let's check them out and see what all the hype's about. Right, so I've started today's review in the back of the courts, so I'm hitting lengths here. The 135X is the largest head size in the range. It's got a slightly head-heavy balance, 135 grams weight, so not heavy in any way. But the big thing I noticed with this was I felt very confident because of the larger head size. I was hitting really good power to the back, and it didn't feel like a small racket in any way. Obviously, it's the classic head shape. When I took the standard 135, which has got the 460 head size, so a little bit drop down, I certainly noticed the difference in terms of the sweet spot, but there was just that little bit more feel and control on my shots. The frame almost felt slightly stiffer. These rackets really benefit from the brand new Auxetic 2.0, which is now also featuring the Auxetic into the handle. So it just really sort of smooths it out, and if anything, the biggest notice that I found was with the standard 135. It just seems to really work well. It was a lovely feeling off the bat. Right, so I've taken the court further up the court now, and I'm sort of stepping into some volleys. Similar feel to both. I'm still feeling that, what I feel, for me, it felt like a slightly stiffer feeling frame in the standard 135. But again, I love the confidence the 135 gives me, the larger sweet spot. I would say I'm advanced enough that I would probably still choose the 135 standard based on the fact that it just gives me a little bit more feel. But the beauty of these two rackets is pretty much that you've got a similar feel. One's just a little bit more forgiving in the 135X. But everything else, sort of the sort of balance points and everything are very similar. Right, so I've now taken the board in short. Again, the standard 135 for me has the better feel. Again, it's probably the smaller head size of the 460 square centimetre head size just allows for a greater feel. If I was choosing which racket, I feel I would go for the smaller head size, but I can't get away from the fact how much more confident I felt in terms of even just picking the racket up, seeing a larger head size. So you know, if you're borderline, then don't be frightened to take the bigger head size, because it just makes the game a little bit easier. The other thing that which can't be underestimated, is how lovely these rackets look. New cosmetic really stands out on the court. They're shining, and there's nothing better than feeling like you actually really enjoy the racket that visually, for me, that you're using. The balance point, sometimes I've always thought the rackets could head heavy or a little bit too heavy, but today in the playtest, I haven't had any issues. I've felt like the actual balance has given me more control than anything, and has been a real benefit. Right, I'm going to move now. I'm going to step it up onto the real sort of more advanced rackets in the Slimbody range, and compare them and see what the difference is also between these and the Slimbodies. Right, so I've now got the Slimbodies. This is the rackets that there's lots of hype about. The 135 is Paul Coll's new racket. And then you've also got the 120. So traditionally for us, the 120 has been extremely popular, probably more popular than the 135. It's a lovely feeling racket. So as I've taken these to the back of the court, so let's start with the 120. It's very fast through the air. I'm certainly having to attack the ball a bit more, because it's not as powerful as the standard 135 and the 135X. So I really feel like this racket, when you start to push it, so you can't sort of cruise and try and float it down the wall. It's more of an attacking player, because you've got to get the Auxetic 2.0 to kick in, and for me, when you really benefit from this new technology is when you're hitting the ball hard and you're trying to attack and get power into the racket. So the 135 obviously has a little bit more frame weight. They both feature from like an even balance. So, you know, where you really notice it is like, I noticed it more with the 120 just suddenly coming through a little bit quicker than the 135. But, you know, the 135, you have the added bonus that there's a little bit more weight in the racket, which will enable you to create a little bit more power easily. Because neither of these rackets for me are super powerful. And again, you've really got to like be quite aggressive to get the most out of this racket. So the power was there, but you've got to have good technique, and I'm hitting it quite hard here and trying to drive the ball to the back. And it's not sort of a racket that is going to necessarily make this part of the game super easy. Right, so as I've moved onto the volleys, these rackets being so thin are incredibly maneuverable. I feel like the Auxetic 2.0 has improved the rackets. It comes down now into the handle, so that for me as a decent player results in a lot more feel. And you know, having had sort of contact with Paul Coll and Paul Coll's coach Rob Owen, one of the reasons that they switched to this range was for just that little bit more feel on their shots, you know, trying to get a little bit more maybe out of their short game, and that's certainly what you're going to get from these rackets. Let's not forget, Paul Coll was still having great results with the Slimbody Speed 120. He's just really trying to squeeze that little bit more out of his game, and you know, certainly you can see that in the attacking shots that he's now playing. Right, where you're going to benefit most from the Slimbodies is certainly your short game. The feel is exceptional. It's really a case of whether you want the 120, which is super maneuverable, or a little bit more weight to give you a little bit more probably control in the 135. But yeah, this is where they really start to excel. Like, you taking the ball in with lots of feel, lots of control. The other thing that's quite interesting is it does have the adaptive stringing pattern. So at the moment, all the rackets come with the standard strings, but if you did want to, you can have them restrung and bring in the fan stringing, which will bring a little bit more closer, the strings a little bit closer together, and again, enhance that feel. So really, yeah, now these rackets are really starting to excel. There's more feel in the Slimbodies than the standard Radical rackets, but in standard Radical rackets are a little bit more powerful. Right, so in conclusion, if you're wanting to get on trend, which there seems to be at the moment with people going back to the classic head shape, the new Radical control range is something you really should consider. It looks fantastic. It's got the new Auxetic 2.0 technology, which really enhances the overall feel and control. It's a range being used by Paul Coll. And of course, it's now available at pdhsports.com.